sports fans. Welcome back to another episode of Brotherly Love here on the Fantasy Sports Network. Obviously, not Luther to my right today. We got a little special episode here as my Philadelphia Eagles are going to be taking on the vaunted Seattle Seahawks, and we have not beat them in 15 years. Actually, last time it was really bad. Memory serves me. Y'all knocked Carson Wentz out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the bird on the other side of the coast has been getting the better of it. The last handful of matchups. Me and Bo here are gonna have some fun. Break it all down for you guys. Give our pros and cons for each position. Break it down at the end. But Bo, I guess kick it off. Give everyone a little intro who you are. What you cover, where we can find you.
Yeah. So you can find me. Guest spots all over the place. Obviously, you can find me on my channel at Football-Talk on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. At Football Talk with Bo, and then of course on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday you can find me on the Northeast streaming sports channel of Roku.
There you go. Got to have the content pumping out. It's a must these days.
Absolutely.
But let's get into it. I mean, not the win wise where you guys thought you would be at the season, and we're probably going through our roughest stretch. You got the shocks out there. The Eagles are frauds, and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Memory serves me when everything came out this season. We weren't supposed to win 2 games during this whole stretch. We were supposed to get ran out and this, that, and the third. Going forward to getting into where we are now with the final game, which got flexed to Monday night. That's great for all of us.
Absolutely.
And at least for some of us adults. But I mean, it's one of these things. Like, obviously, no team is flawless this day and age. Everyone is on these power rankings and this, that, and the third. I think when you look at the NFC, you'd have to say the 3 teams with the 3 best records kind of reflects on who it is. I mean, I still would probably throw Detroit in that mix, even though they're up and down a little bit right now. I think Detroit's kind of been the surprise team that you knew they were going to be good, but they probably took a little bit more of a step forward this year, kind of like what the Eagles did last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, Detroit's a good team. The biggest thing for them over the last few weeks has been their defense coming out of the bye week hasn't looked quite the same, right? They've had some injuries, so I'll give them that. But the defense hasn't looked quite right. But the biggest thing is over the last 4 weeks, they've turned the ball over a lot. And I don't care how good your team is. If you're turning the ball over, you're losing games. I mean, that's the league.
That's been our problem. You go back at Dallas game specifically. You turn the ball over 3 times inside your opponent's 30-yard line as you're getting ready to score. That's a tough pill to swallow. It doesn't matter how good you are, how good your defense are. You're gonna eventually get caught up with that, and the last 2 games it really did catch up with the Eagles not being able to get the offense in a flow, get things done in the red zone, and then the turnovers that itself has been quite a thing on our side of it. Obviously, we're now have the easiest schedule moving forward with getting Arizona and the Giants twice in the last 3 weeks here, but.
It's funny though. The Eagles are interesting, right? Because when you look at the team on paper, they should have came out and been every bit the team they were last year, right? Because on offense, you guys kept most of your talent, and on defense, even the things you lost, you backfilled with half of Georgia's national championship team, right? So I mean. There's no reason for them to be playing like they are, because even when they were winning,
coaching, man. If you really ask me, listen, everyone was big on losing T.J. Edward, Kazir White, losing Hargrave, and like
Yeah.
you said, we basically filled all of those basic positions. I still feel like we didn't value the linebacker position, but going and drafted Kobe Dean last year was kind of addressing it. So you didn't really kind of foresee him having some more injuries, getting nicked up multiple times this year.
Yeah.
You having to go bring Zach Cunningham off the street. The reason why Nicholas Morrow, was getting torched 2 weeks ago against the 49ers is because, Dean isn't in there. Is
Yeah.
because, you have to go and bring in a guy like Leonard and hopefully he can, be a little bit better in coverage there. But like also, I think the Avonte Maddox thing is being downplayed a lot. He's been our slot corner, basically since the Super Bowl year so in terms, you basically have 1, 2, and 3 locked up for the better part of the last 3 to 4 years when you bring in Bradbury and then you have Slay and things of that nature. So when they're having to do other things, and then you lose a CJ Gardner Johnson. Obviously you draft Sidney Brown and he's starting to look alike. But how it is with defenses in NFL and having to try to kind of catch up where you need to be, especially when you're not really getting the reps in preseason to put you in that position.
Yep.
It's why we're not really seeing him towards the back end of the year. It's why you had to go get a Kevin Baird and things. So I mean, obviously, we know what's going on here in Philadelphia, but I still think losing Gannon, as much as we hated him, as much as a lot of people really in Philadelphia didn't want him, and then also losing St. Steichen, well, you bring in Brian Johnson, that's Jalen's guy, but isn't the one thing that everyone felt last year was the reason why Jalen took a step forward? It was the first time since he was in high school that he was in the same system, the same everything for more than 2 years. Isn't that the reason why everyone was talking about Jalen in that sense? And now everyone's talking about, well, he's injured. No, I just think that he's trying to do too much, and I think some of the reports that came out that they are trying to do too much. They're trying to do too much down the field. They're limiting themselves in what they're doing with their play calling, and that is a direct effect onto the coaching staff. I think if you have to say the thing it isn't the personnel loss, it isn't really been injury. I think it's just been having the new systems come in here, and then having these guys implement it. So how it is in the NFL. Sometimes it does take almost a whole season before, oh, okay, this is what he's trying to like. It does take a while sometimes in this league. So, I mean, it's not something you want to be dealing with in week 15 if you're the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's
But
for sure.
having all those veteran guys around there, having guys that can call meetings, hold everyone accountable, and pick the team up is, I think, the thing that would say why you wouldn't be worried about Philadelphia moving forward. You still have to fix the problems first and foremost, but I mean, if you're a Philadelphia fan, I wouldn't say the sky isn't quite burning yet, but you're starting to smell some funk in the air.
I mean, you lose a couple more games, the city might be on fire.
Merry Christmas, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny, though, because the offense definitely doesn't look the same, right? And you can tell there's moments where Hurts is being almost asked to play hero ball, right? Which is not what he does well, right? That's
it's not. If you look at it, take the last 2 weeks out of it, and what is his record when down by 10? It was like
I'm not saying.
I think it was some insanity number. It was like 18-3 or something like that.
No, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying
he shouldn't be able to do it every week.
Than he should be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Like it's they're making him do it more than they should be making him do it. Like it's great that he can do it, but you don't want him to be in that Josh Allen where if he isn't out there playing hero ball, you lose. So it's one of those where you're seeing some of that where you're just like, oh man, you have the weapons. You don't need him to do that, right? Like you need him to make some special plays here and there, but you don't need him to be Josh Allen running around slinging the rock, probably turning it over.
I mean, the turnovers is more. I think he's been worse fumbling the ball this year than he was throwing interceptions. He still has ones. Like if you look at it, like I still think 4 of them this year are on tipped balls.
Yeah.
You can't. Those are stats I really wish wouldn't go against a quarterback because that's not fair.
Well, especially when they're tipped by their receivers, right? Where it just bounces through their hands.
Or is this one of the ones where your a play's breaking down and you're throwing the ball and the lineman just happens to get his hand up and it winds up going 4 yards down the field and one of the linebackers just wind up curdling under it. I mean,
yeah, they're just like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for this gift, guys.
Yep.
Snap Bush. That's gonna help me contract time. Thanks.
Exactly.
But then as we get into this, the quarterback position, you guys have been dealing with some stuff. Geno was the comeback player of the year last year, and he's been a little bit more than banged up this year. I mean, obviously, I think he's kind of settled into what he is there. We could definitely tell he needed to be in a system like this probably his whole career.
Yes. Yeah, the system fits him well. So, I mean, you got to like that for him. He is smart with the football, makes good decisions. The biggest thing that he's had an issue with, it's funny because especially here in Seattle, fans are like, oh, Geno's terrible, get him out of there. And it's like,
who's
his
behind him?
Well, yeah, right. It's Drew Lock. But the biggest thing is the offensive line got hurt in the first half of at halftime of the first game of the year. And it hasn't been right since, right? And so they've had this rotating cast of guys up front. It's hard to be effective at quarterback if your offensive line isn't very good, right? So the offensive line is consistently losing battles. They're bringing in multiple tight ends to help block and create, a pocket for him. And, it's one of those, they're blaming Geno because it's easy to, but when you look at where this team is falling short, it's in the trenches. I mean, when you look at, say, last year, you had Stafford and you had Murray, who had offensive lines that were banged up all year, right? They had rotating guys, and Stafford arguably going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? Kyler Murray undoubtedly is a, stud athlete, right? He can make throws. How did they look last year when they had an offensive line that was absolutely just banged up all year? They had losing seasons and the stats were terrible. And they ultimately both got hurt, right? So now you look into this year, you have an offensive line that's beat up. It's been a rotating cast, and you have Geno now not having any time to throw the ball, and he gets hurt. It's like we've seen this movie before. It's crazy.
I know, right? It's weird. It's like someone wrote this formula that you win football games by being good up front.
Yeah, so it's weird.
But back to the quarterback position, because we'll get back to the offensive line in a minute. As far as overall grade goes, Jalen's playing B minus. You could say C because the simple fact how he's played the last 2 weeks. But again, when you're running plays that are taking more than 3 seconds to develop, what do you really expect? I mean, I think the stat was Jalen's average throw has a 40% average to be able to be completed. That's not good. You should definitely be throwing somewhere in a 50% range, if not higher.
Yeah.
So when that stat comes out, that just tells you, Jalen is doing the best that he can. People who don't pay attention to the game will be like, well, he's holding on to the ball. Well, if you're not designing good plays and guys can't get open, yeah, he's holding on to the ball, and he's really trying not to run as much this year because we all know that that cost him in the back end of last year, and he is dealing with the a deep knee bruise or shin bruise or whatever they're calling it. I mean, you could tell that just because how he's been running at most of this season. As far as you guys go, again, banged up at that quarterback position, I would probably have you guys around the same grade, overall at that low BC range. As we're going to go with our quarterback, obviously Jalen has the it factor and is going to get the push here.
Yes, yeah.
Just because, I mean, and it's not taking anything away from Geno. We just seen recently, not just last year, but this year, Jalen has been finding knack the way make some ridiculous throws, put this team on his back and win games that they have no business winning.
Yeah, no, I would agree. They probably roll in with the same grade, and I would give Hurts the advantage there also, just because he is far and away the better athlete, right? And sometimes, especially when the grading is the same, just being the better athlete can make the difference. Because, I mean, we've all watched football long enough to know that one or two plays can make a difference in a game.
It does, that penalty flag at the right time, that picking the right call at the right time, just breaking a defense back where you're on the field, about to punch it in instead of having to kick a field goal. Getting a 4-point swing sometimes ultimately determines how the game is played later on and winds up playing everything. It's one of the things why we love this sport so much, but it's we're going to get into a little other debate when you get into that, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, it's scripted. The referees absolutely have been terrible.
They've been terrible. Yes.
When they want to inject themselves, when they want to call stuff. So like as we were going into this week, everyone's upset. Like, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes is crying. I'm like, he's crying because the league does go about things in a way like, hey, we're going to call this game. We're giving you a heads up about that. Because they set that precedent. Yes, the Chiefs are upset about it, but at the same time, it was 110% the right call.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be.
We don't have to have this conversation, or better yet, it's the one simple thing that you're taught as a wide receiver is what you see every game. What point, right? Point down. Yeah. Good, right? We're good. Absolutely. Good. Okay, we're good. So
exactly.
You didn't do your job, so we're supposed to feel bad about that as a whole? No. Have the referees been terrible as a whole for the last handful of years? Yes.
100%.
They definitely have some type of thing going on where they definitely pick and choose when they want to call things, where they want to call things. Hell, I could make claims like it over the last few weeks that there was calls not being made for us that should have been made. Like you could say, hey, that's clearly PI, but they're letting them play through it. Like some of those times, like you get it, like where like they're two top contenders. You want them to play. You want the players to make the difference, not the flags. You absolutely need to catch the ball. So I'm not one of them like, oh, well, that's why we lost. But at the same time, like we should have a uniform against it. Like it should be this way all the way. Doesn't matter if it's the regular season, if it's the playoff, it's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, just make it consistent. Like I don't care what the rule is. Right? As long as you call it the same.
I think that's all the players and the fans would just be consistent about it.
Yeah. I mean, because
like all game long, you're not calling us, and then the last drive, blump.
Yeah.
Blump. There's 3 flags marching a team down the field, and they wind up winning the game now.
Exactly. Well, and ultimately, that's what happened with Tony, right? Because he was offsides a few other times during the game. No warning, no flag, right?
It was going both ways, too. It's like if you looked, I think there was a bunch of times you would see Miller lined up in the neutral zone. Then you get these, sometimes you get these calls that like you can say they're not lined up in the neutral zone, but you just call the flag. Now that third down that they're off the field is now 1st and goal, and now they want to punch it in. Those are it's when you call them, it's being consistent about it. It's like if you're going to call it every single time. Not let it sit there and get that guy used to sitting there saying, all right, I'm good in this position right here. And then, 3rd, 4th quarter, start ringing the guy up on it.
Yeah. Well, and then of course, speaking to the inconsistency, you had the one where Mahomes is running to the out of bounds marker. He gets hit. He's still in bounds, gets the flag. But then you see, in another game, you have DeVito sliding, right?
Oh,
He's almost
DeVito
end of the
sliding.
line.
I can name at least 3 different games where Jalen's gotten hit like 2-3 steps out of bounds.
No flag. Yeah.
Nothing. I'm like, wait a minute. Are we playing the same game? If that was Tom Brady, if that was Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, anyone, you'd see all five zebras throw flags.
Exactly, right? Just laundry on the field. I mean, all the flags coming out.
Being consistent. That's all we ask as consumers of this product. You know, when you have your competition committee next season, just be consistent. That should be the overall tone of the meeting.
I mean, yes. And I mean, does it make sense for them to be full-time all year so that you can get them to be better trained? Or, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is here, but the refs have to be better because it's so inconsistent.
As much as players go through film, they should be going through all their bad calls in the off season. They should have to spend like 2 weeks where they're just going through all their calls they missed, how it cost them this, how it cost that, everything. They should see that so they hold themselves like much accountable as we want them to hold themselves accountable. You know,
absolutely.
All right, but running backs, obviously, Philadelphia is unique because you kind of have to throw Jalen Hurts into the running back because of how he's used. But that being said, we've already said, you know, he is nicked up. He doesn't quite have that explosiveness that he's had last year. At least we haven't seen it this year. But you still have, DeAndre Swift when used properly. You know, as you've seen in the first 4 weeks of the season, he could be close to the leading rusher in this league. Both Kenny Gainwell, Jalen Hurts, and DeAndre Swift has had critical fumbles at different games at different points of this season. So you absolutely have to put that on it. It's my boys. I'm going to be harsh on them. It's a C- for me. They have cost them plenty of games, plenty of points. Inconsistent running, regardless of if you're sitting there saying because Jurgens has been injured or whatever. But if you think about it, outside of one game with Lane missing due to some groin tightness and injury and however you have that, and then Jurgens 3 games that he's missed, the offensive line has pretty much been intact. So I'm not going to sit there and let the inconsistency be put on to the running back group there. I'm going to add that in. I'll go back again to your usage with your offensive coordinator when you have 2 different games where you have losses and you threw the ball 40 times and you barely run the ball 10. And especially if you take out Jalen's runs, just running back runs, they're not even 10 carries. That is a problem that you absolutely have to fix. It sucks for Kenny and DeAndre, but like I said, the C-. It's where I'm going at. How you feeling about your running back room right now?
Yes, I mean our running back room is good. Both our guys were kind of beat up, so they're coming off their injuries, but Walker and Charbonnet are absolute studs. If they can get holes opened up in front of them by the offensive line, they can absolutely gash teams. I'd say our running back room is a B+. Unfortunately, that offensive line is what it is, and so the running game has been inconsistent. But that's not really because of our running backs.
So I'll definitely we'll give you guys the edge here. You know, you guys aren't putting the ball on the carpet as we are right now. So
they do hold on to the ball.
But as we get into this next group is where you might see a little discrepancy.
Sure.
As we get into the wide receivers, it's not a secret anymore. AJ Brown is what we have dubbed Mega John now because him breaking Calvin Johnson's record this year. He's at this point in time, how Howie Roseman got him out of Tennessee and immediately signed a 5-year contract is beyond me. One, and
Great
then the fact that you have Mr. Highlight Reel and Devontae Smith. He's a former
Yep.
Heisman Trophy winner, national championship, and he is hands and toes. That's what that boy is right there. He finds way to come up with the improbable, impossible catches. He just finds a way to do it. Unfortunately, last the game against the Cowboys last week probably was his probably worst professional game as a pro. Just some of the things of the drops that he had in some of the spots. He was getting cracked a little bit, and then the obviously the fumble on the 13 can't have that, can't do that. And things of that nature. But again, he's third, fourth year into the league here, and that was first time you've had a stinker like that. I think that's not too shabby. Obviously, having Zacchaeus and Quez Watkins and Julio Jones as your slot guys isn't a bad thing at all. And I know you guys got the freak over there,
for sure.
That is exactly what DK Metcalf is. He is a freak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because DK, absolute freak of a human, right? The problem is you can get under his skin, and then he becomes a problem for our own team. Right, he'll get that 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct, or like last week, he gets booted from the game. So as many things as he can do, there's elements.
It wasn't worth it to watch him to throw Fred Warner around like that.
Yes,
like it's like, this game's over. That was worth it to see that.
But yeah, I mean, that's always the question mark: is he going to help us as much as he hurts us? But I mean, obviously his speed and strength and everything is unreal. And then when it comes to a guy that's, hands and toes, that's Tyler Lockett. Like, he catches everything that's even remotely close to him. And then he is smart with the ball, right? Like he gets to the ground. He doesn't turn it over. And then of course you have the young guys coming in. You got JSN and you have Bobo. And, I mean, both those guys ball out. They maximize every opportunity they get to touch the ball. So, I mean, we both probably have one of the better receiving cores in the league. So, I mean, this is going to be such a fun game.
Like, we both could sit there and say, like, hey, we could sit there and say A's, but like, with my guys dropping some stuff in the fumbles, I'm going to give them a current B right now. But as the overall core goes, when we're looking at the core, I mean, I don't know how you not give the edge to Philadelphia here, despite having a guy like Lockett and Metcalf and things of that nature. The Eagles have proven that they can beat you with one, and they can beat you with six, meaning they can hit you with the one guy on the depth part or six, and that's a hard thing to say across the board in this league. So you have to give the edge there. And then as we get into tight ends, we're getting into the next conversation, because Dallas Goedert, less than 3 weeks after breaking his arm, was back on the field last week.
That was crazy.
Doing his angry Hulk runs, because that's what he. Tell me, does that look like he's just like a little angry Hulk running around there in that green jersey? That's what it reminds me of. I mean, he gets taken down or whatever, but like he's definitely, I think, the most underrated route running tight end in the NFL. I mean. And I say that because we have some special guys out there, Kittle, Kelsey,
for sure.
You have guys that are special, with going to get the ball, going to get into the end zone, things of that nature. So it's kind of it's not hard to fathom that Dallas gets lost in it at times. But he also spent 2-3 years behind Zach Ertz before he was able to kind of really hold the reins in there. And the rumor is Zach might be coming back here on a late season contract to pursue another Super Bowl ring. if that happens, that could be absolutely ridiculous, especially getting into the red zone. Not to take anything away from, Jack Stoll and Grant, but being able to do a two tight end with Ertz and Goddard in the red zone could be very big.
Yep.
Especially, as we were talking about the struggles in the red zone, finding consistency, finding guys that Jalen feels comfortable in that situation sometimes. So if that happens, you could very well just might wrap that up and call that a straight A. But that hasn't happened. Dallas had, unfortunately is a little nicked up with the broken arm. But I would have to say you have one of the better pass catching trios with them. They don't really drop that much. They're good. A good check down for Jalen, even though he hasn't been quite using them as much. Blocking, catching, everything like that. I give them guys a B plus. How you feel about your tight end room, my friend?
Yeah. So the thing that's funny is if you go through the tight end room, right, you have Noah Fant, absolute stud, right? Will Dissly is probably one of the more underrated guys. The problem is the Seahawks just don't use their tight ends. They use them to block, and then they give them like 2 or 3 targets a game. So I can't give them a great grade because they don't use them. I mean, the personnel's there. Like, if they use the tight ends correctly,
how you feel about your tight ends is why I'm hard on my running backs, because the simple fact that you have guys like Swift and Gainwell, and you don't use halfback screens with this offensive line is absolutely freaking maddening to me.
Oh, yeah. Well,
when we're talking, what I was just sitting there saying, they're having problems getting these quick throws, these quick plays to help Jalen, right?
Yep.
What would be a great? Oh, why the running back screens are great for that, aren't they? Isn't that the staple what this offense has been like the last 5? Oh, that's right. Why would we use our brain, right?
Well, and I mean, with the Seahawks having offensive line issues, right? They've ran.
Yeah, that's where I would get that with you guys, because you have to compensate your blocking with what you have at the tight end. Like I gotta leave not just one, but both of my guys in, because we need to make sure Gino or whoever else is back there for us is standing upright for 4 quarters.
Without a doubt. Like, I agree with that, except they've actually ran a lot of 13 personnel. So they've had 3 tight ends on the field at times. So why you're not running some rub blocks so that you have an outlet pass that's in a flat or in a short zone, a little dig route, something like that. Like, have them come through the line, get the block, and leak out, right? Because then you have a nice outlet pass if DK or Lockett or JSN doesn't get open, right? So it's although I agree with you, their numbers are going to be down because they're using him as blockers primarily, especially with a beat up offensive line. There's ways you can scheme some of those guys open to help Gino out.
I mean, there is ways you can scheme it, and you have to figure it out, especially if you want to go deep into January. So if I'm you guys, you have to figure out a way to get them more involved and get those chunk plays that'll get you 8, 10, 15 yards from those things, and being able to change possessions to be able to put points on the board to keep you guys in games, man, because it's one of those things you have to use everything they give you, everything, every inch,
Absolutely.
every yard, every space. You can't be just throwing outside the numbers. You got to use the whole field.
Absolutely. And if they could use them more effectively, I mean, they're one of the bottom red zone scoring teams, right? We settle for a lot of field goals. Utilizing your tight ends better may help that, right? Yeah. Like if all of your touchdown throws are coming from outside the 25 primarily, and they're all going to DK Lockett, and you're not really using anybody else, that's kind of easy to throw a defense against. Like if you're like, okay, these are the 2 guys that are going to get targeted. JSN might get one if he breaks a tackle. We're going to target a tight end like every other game. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. They underutilize the position. So even though they have guys that I like in that position, I give them like a B-, like, because the guys are good, but they just don't use them.
Yeah. That's where the Eagles again take the advantage here. We're at the last offensive position here. In other words, it was a 4-1 now on the offensive side. So here we go. And obviously the most talked about position group in sports right now is the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. Whether it be Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, whether it be their return to the Billboard music charts as another Christmas album drops this season. I mean, what can you say about this group? That you got two surefire Hall of Famers on there. You have two other All Pros on the other side with Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens has proven that with his timeout that he is at least a Pro Bowl level offensive lineman. So you definitely can't really say anything bad about this unit. Lane gave up his first sack in like 2.5 years last week. So I mean, it's one of the sad part is he didn't get beat. It just you got pushed back into Jalen and Micah got there. So and it wasn't even one like he really he got beat. It just every once in a while you're gonna get pushed back and bull rushed to get some of these nasty defensive ends like Micah Parsons. But I mean the only thing you could say is some of the penalties have just been hard to understand. I feel like the league's kind of trying to pick on them a little bit, but I mean it's the best offensive line in football from tackle to tackle, and we could even talk into some of the draftings and the backups that we have here that could probably be starters for other teams. So I mean, I'm not trying to be pig-headed or not, but how do you not just at least give them? I can't give them an A+ because again, giving up sacks recently, the penalties, things of that nature. But it's the best offensive line in football. There's two Hall of Famers there. There's two All Pros on the other side. What else can you ask for? For an offensive line in this league?
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree that the Eagles probably have one of the best offensive lines in the league. For the Hawks, they're just really young. Even if you ignore the fact that they've been hurt all season, Lucas and Cross, great tackles. Right, that they picked up in last year's draft. They added a guard and they added a couple of interior linemen actually this year. But again, they were young, primarily been beat up. So I mean, I'd give this group like a C-, but not necessarily because they're not skilled or good players. Injuries have really made this not a cohesive unit, and so, I mean, I'm going to go off the gameplay, not necessarily the guys that are actually there. Because, I mean, at this point, Cross and Lucas are back, but they're still battling through the injuries. So they're not what they were last year. Because when you looked at this group last season, until they started getting hurt at the end of the year, it allowed Geno to have this as a top 5 scoring offense most of the season. So it's not like the personnel that's in the line are bad, but as soon as you get beat up, and you're not 100% coming back, you're going to lose some battles against guys that are. So, I'll go.
The division you guys are in, man.
What's that?
Especially being in that division you guys are in, too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some real defenses. There's no doubt.
Then talking about defenses, let's turn it over to the other side of the ball and the defensive line. Now, obviously, here in Philadelphia, we have arguably the best defensive tackle room in football with Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and arguably who could potentially be the defensive rookie of the year, Jalen Carter, who had a fumble return for a touchdown, and I think he's at 3.5 sacks, something like that. But I mean, you see why we invested what we did in the Jalen Carter. You see why you go in and let Javion Hargrave go for the money that he did when you're able to bring Jalen Carter in and have him on a rookie deal for the next 4 to 5 years, or overpay for a guy that'll probably play at least 2 years of his contract that he's actually worth, and the rest you're going to be eating a contract that he very well couldn't produce on. So I think that was the absolute right move by Howie Roseman in the Eagles right there. You absolutely, and then you go and get a stud and another Georgia Bulldog to add with a teammate when you already have Jordan Davis over there, who's another freak of a specimen there at defensive tackle. I mean, Fletcher Cox, 33 years old, still playing like he just hit his 30s. Brandon Graham still making plays over there. Josh Sweat, is a good edge rusher, and here we are, year 4, and Hassan Reddick has another 10 plus sack season. Can't answer better production of that. I'm not going to give them great grades because they've been super inconsistent with not only run stopping but the pass rush as well. It's B. They're one of the top 3 defensive lines in the league, if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have us beat on the line. Even with the recent addition of Leonard Williams and of course Frank Clark coming back, the defensive line just really hasn't quite gelled. This is another one where I think Seattle just has a real hard time losing in the trenches, and this is another one where that defensive line isn't where it needs to be. It's a C.
That's going to be the matchup for Monday night, brother.
It is
our offensive line against our defensive line. That's where this game will be won. For sure,
absolutely.
So if they're able to kind of take that blueprint of what the last few teams have been doing to them, is get them mush rushing instead of just getting after straight lining after the quarterback, then I think it could be an interesting day. But that you have to wonder what's going to happen on the other side of that with the play calling of what's going to happen with Jalen. So we'll see. But I still say that'll probably be the matchup that'll determine who wins or loses Monday for this one.
Yeah, I mean, if they can't get pressure on Jalen, it's gonna be a long afternoon. Like we're gonna need the pass rush to be able to get in there.
I think it's pressure. I think your thing is just have it where everyone's covered up, and Jalen has to beat you with his legs. Because if you see it right now, it's like not that he can't do it, but like if you make it where that's his only option, and he's only getting 2 yards here, 3 yards there, 5 yards there.
Yeah,
that's a battle I'll take all day long if I'm a defense.
Well, so here's the thing, and it's something that I broke down earlier today. Is the secondary, I think, will be able to hold up okay. Where if Seattle's going to win this game, where they have to win it is they have to win it on first and second down. Because if we've seen anything out of the Eagles, you can run your quarterback sneak from 3 yards, right? So
almost.
I mean, well, one of them you guys scored on. You were on the 2.5, and you pushed it into the center of the end zone. I mean, that was like a 7-yard QB sneak. It's crazy. So the thing for them to be able to really be in this game is they have to win on first and second down. They have to create a 3rd and 5 or longer scenario and make Jalen beat you with his arm, right? Because our secondary.
I still think that's where with the arm thing, he can make those throws, though. You know what I mean?
He can. You just got to keep in mind we got really good players in the secondary, right? We have a couple of good safeties. We got a couple of really good corners.
I just think you have to get him to the third look. That's what
yes.
If I'm your defensive coordinator, whatever I do, his first two looks cannot be open.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree with that.
Now, if you're in that situation, then I would sit there and say I would put it, 50-50 as your chance to win this game. And then we get into the other part of it, which it's a road game. It's in Seattle.
Yep.
And 12 is real.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is Nick Sirianni's found ways to win on the road the last 2 years and overcome some of those teams' home field advantages multiple times over the last 2 years. So that's another thing you got to look into because as much as 12 is a real thing, coaching matters in football.
It does. Speaking of that, an alert just went off, so I looked at it. Brandon Staley officially fired this morning,
as he should have been after that game last night. Oh man. Somewhere Sean Merriman's doing his dance right now.
I mean, this guy should have been fired also.
Not just lose like that to your rival like that.
Exactly. Against another 5-8 team. So it's not like they were having an awesome season. Like you got absolutely smacked by another bad team. So, but yeah, no, I've been saying he should be fired all season. And finally happens. The alert came through. Staley is out.
I was thinking coming into this week that Bill Belichick's destination could have been the Las Vegas Raiders, but now that the Golden Boys don't have a coach right now, San Diego might not be a bad chase for Hoodie either.
I mean,
we're tired of Hoodie because we won't need a Hoodie no more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to want to go with another defensive coach though.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's proven that he if the quarterback's worth his medal, he can coach.
Well, there's no doubt. I think
Justin Herbert is arguably the guy from that draft that just hasn't delivered.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I just think that with this particular team, they're probably going to give Kellen Moore the chance.
Which they should.
Absolutely. You get the offensive guy in the room. Not that the offense has looked particularly great over the last few weeks.
You think Belichick's gonna finish out the career in New England and pass Shula in New England, or will we see him on a different sideline next year?
Well, he's out officially after this season anyway, so he definitely can't get the record there. So
yeah, sometimes we heard reports like, "Oh, he's out," and then all of a sudden, after the season they talked about, and they're going to give it another season.
No, usually when these kinds of things get leaked, someone wants it leaked, right? And I think in this case, this is probably them trying to get someone to give them a draft pick to take Bill, right?
I'm sure they could too.
Yeah, they definitely could. So I think this is probably one of those.
Robert Kraft was just sitting there, Carolina, come on, make another mistake. Let's go, Carolina.
Pretty much.
That's what I'm doing if I'm New England. Like, hey, y'all want Bill?
Yeah, right.
y'all got them first round picks, right?
They don't. They gave up their first round pick.
Yeah, but doesn't mean you can't still trade them. There's no rule that you can't go 2-3 years into the future and be like, all right, here you can take my 2030 first round draft pick. If you're sitting there saying like I want Belichick, well, all right, well you can take one when he's already going to be gone for me, and when I'm not giving you anything immediate, that's for sure.
Yep.
It's not like he's some hot young, coordinator who just had a bad stint with your guys and just wasn't working. This is, we're talking about the guy that's literally probably has 3 seasons left in him.
Yeah. So then does he end up with Washington? Right.
I didn't think about that.
Because then he doesn't have to
with the new management group with
exactly
with Magic and
they're going to need an entire new coaching staff anyway, right? Because they just fired half their coaching staff. So Ron Rivera probably finishes the season out. He gets fired. And then basically Bill would get to bring in his entire, coaching system, right? So I could see something like that happening.
I didn't think about Washington, but you're right. They should probably be the team that's at the top of the list right now, actually.
And it's such a short move for him.
But the reason why I say that is just they know how to mess things up, and I just don't think I just don't think it. Like, you know what, y'all can't even get your name right. You're being sued for that. I don't even want to get deal with what you're. That they're being sued by a Native American because that you stole our name.
No, I mean that
Family Guy. They took our jobs.
That organization had been a dumpster fire for a long time, but at this point, new group, you get to bring in all your own guys. You've basically, traded away a lot of your team, so you get to kind of draft what you want. I mean, it's kind of an ideal spot if you're a coach that wants to build something. It's just how long does he want to coach for? That's the real question.
Here's the thing. If I was him, I would have it where, like, I'm only going to coach like 2 or 3 years, and then I'm going to stop coaching, and I'm just going to run the front office. And I'm going to make draft picks. If I'm investing, I want him to bring in, both a young offensive and defensive coordinator that are going to be molded into, one of the guys that are going to take over this team in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I get involved in that if I'm a team. But
if you're a team, do you want him doing the draft? Because it's not like his drafts have been amazing. He's been the GM there.
Lately, yeah. I still think like it's one of those things where I think the same thing that did Bill in at the end is doing it. Belichick in the same thing that did Parcells.
Sure.
It's the same thing that did Bill Parcells in, and it's so funny because where does Belichick come from? Oh, the Parcells tree. That's right.
He does. Well, and honestly, that's how Landry ended up going down too. Right? Had 20 years awesome, and then fell apart at the end.
I said it to this day. I still feel the way they did Landry with Jerry. Jerry got the immediate satisfaction, but they've been dealing with 30 years of hell because of it.
Yep.
I mean, give it to you. Like, if you think about it, within a 10-year span of him doing that, winds up winning 3 Super Bowls.
Yep.
You can't argue with it, but the 3 Super Bowls in 30 years of being what do we usually call this? We call this choke-timber for the Cowboys because this is when they fall apart. This is when they tend to fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't played good football in December in 25 years.
It's not even December. They played good football in December. It's January. They haven't
January,
been able to play good football in January for 30 years.
Yeah, January they really don't. But even December, they're like a 500 team.
I guess we'll see this year. And Dak has looked significantly better, but again, I don't completely disagree with what Cam Newton just said. The guys he named off are managers. They aren't the guy that you put everything on their back and ride them out for the whole game.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily need.
But also,
I mean, Trent Dilfer won a ring, right? Nick Foles won a ring. So I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a guy that can play hero ball.
Nick was a gunslinger. He wasn't a game manager. Nick was a gunslinger.
But the thing is
Trent Dilfer was a game manager.
He would absolutely. Same with Flacco, right? Game manager. But
you look at what he's been doing.
But at the end of the day, right?
Now,
At
do
the end
you
of the
think the injuries for these quarterbacks have been bad? Do you think the backup quarterback play has actually been bad, or
yes.
are you intrigued to see some of these young guys get opportunities?
Well, I mean, if there was ever a year for a backup to get opportunities, it's this one because now
Right.
half the league is out. I mean, going into week 14, there's 12 different quarterbacks starting, and there's going to be more for this week because you had Herbert go down. I mean, you're literally going to have almost half the league with a backup or at least a change at quarterback, which is insane.
Oh,
so,
man.
I mean, if you were going to have one, this would be that opportunity, right? I mean, like if you looked at last night's game, battle of the backups, right? You got Vikings Bengals Saturday morning, battle of the backups. You got Steelers Colts, right? Battle of the backups. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's hilarious. Browns Lions. The Lions are finally the only out of all the teams we've listed. The Browns the Lions are the only ones that have a starter in. Like it's absolutely nuts. So yeah, I mean, if you were going to have a backup start, this is the year because everyone has a backup starting.
Yeah, we even had Mariota in for 5 plays in the 49er game. So we've even had to lean on our backup at a period of time. So listen, it all befalls everyone. Everyone with the cry and moan about the NFC title game last year. I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it. Every team is always only one hit away from their backup, so you better make sure number QB2 is a little bit more than serviceable.
Exactly. Yeah. Your second string guy better be able to ball out. Like you can't have you can't have a low level guy in there because if you ever need him, you're basically throwing the season away.
And then you got to feel bad for Carson Wentz. He thought he's like, oh, Matthew Stafford's going down. I'm good to go, right? Then all of a sudden, Matthew Stafford's health all of a sudden just mysteriously shoots back up, and then he starts winning football games with him. So funny how you put Carson Wentz behind Matthew Stafford. All of a sudden, he's good to go again.
Stafford's like, nope, not giving this up.
Yeah, right. That's so funny. Well, no, because they got the bid for Super Bowl next year, so they have another chance to potentially put one together. And here's another scary part thing. Imagine if Odell Beckham was still in their wide receiver room right now.
Yeah.
With way Puka's playing, man, and obviously, you still got Coop there, right?
Absolutely.
So, and then this league is crazy sometimes. That's all I got to say. But predictions. We're going to get down to Monday night, Philadelphia, Seattle. The way I see this, we just got punched in the mouth twice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not going to be, some crazy. I mean, I think it's going to be like 23-21. It's going to be close. It's going to be within the score. There's a possibility because of what's happened the last few weeks, the Eagles could be very ornery and wind up being able to put some points up. I don't know, man. They haven't played well against Seattle in the past. I don't feel blowout, but I do feel a bounce back type of game. It may wind up being like more of a 10-point game. I don't know. I just know that it ain't easy going out there to Seattle. The past record shows that both coming here and going there. So I have a field goal game. How are you feeling on this?
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because Vegas has it as a 4-point spread for the Eagles, and then they have the over under at 47.5, right? So they think there's going to be some points in this game. I don't think there's going to be that many points, though. I don't think I pull the under on that, but I do think I think they end up like a 4-point game, and why I think that is because Seattle's had a really hard time finishing drives in the end zone. They settle for field goals a lot. So I think this is going to be one of those 24-20 kind of games.
Yeah, I could definitely see it going that way. I think another thing that'll determine how this game goes is I think you guys run defense isn't kind of one of your strong suits. Like you said, you know your secondary can hang with Jalen a little bit. You kind of alluded to that. So if Brian if B Rob actually figures out how to use DeAndre Swift against you guys, it might be a long day in another fashion. Just not how we're seeing it, because as of right now, this team is known to be pass happy. We're throwing it on first and second down more than anything, and it's kind of gotten to the point where people are feeling like the Eagles are a little bit predictable in how they go about things. So we're going to see how it plays out. I still think Seattle has a lot of fight left in them. You can't overlook them. You got to take care of business. I know a lot of fans are looking at that Arizona and the Giants over the next 3 weeks, but you got to take care of business first. I think it's going to be a fun game Monday night. Down there in Seattle. What better way to lead into the playoff rush, right?
Yeah, well, and this is a game that Seattle has to have, right? If they want to make the playoffs, they basically have to win out. They got to win their next 4 games, and it's got to start with this one on Monday night. Where the Eagles can easily win this game is, running primarily, especially in the middle, is a huge thing. Your slot receivers will be huge because for whatever reason, the Seattle defense really struggles with linebackers in coverage. So seam routes, crossing routes, those are almost always open. And then, if Dallas showed anything, throws to the flat, I don't know what it is, but Seattle has a really hard time with yards after the catch. They've become a very poor tackling
that's
team.
Why I think Dallas Goedert could eat you guys up, because he's real good at getting that little tight end flat play and then kicking it up for another 15 yards just with after the catch.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't really say, AJ Brown or DeAndre or Devontae Smith will have big games, but I think they'll do their damage.
They'll have opportunities,
make plays, but again, I think that knowing that people are already feeling like they got the book on you, I'd love to see 25-30 runs out of this team Monday night, honestly.
Yeah, well, and they kind of need it. They kind of need to have a good running day.
But not just that. It just and running is something to really easy get going on the road. The passing game, there's a lot of things that you have to do right. Get the protections right, things of that nature. This was a running team 2 years ago. I think we need to get back to that and get you got the best offensive line in football. Let them earn their paychecks Monday night.
Well, especially because coming to Seattle, it's going to be loud.
Yep.
So it's easier to do running plays in a loud stadium.
Yep. Defense travels, running game travels. It's one of the easiest things. This is another reason why I'm going into that. We're not going to have a lot of points put up. That I think it is going to be a little bit of a grinder. That you are going to see these defense, hold these offenses to field goals instead of touchdowns. It's kind of how I feel that way. We'll see if that's the end result Monday night. Already over an hour here recording, so I wanted to put a bow on this one. Definitely going to be a fun one Monday night. Bo, again, appreciate the time. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up, brother?
No, not at all. Just thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
It's definitely, brother. Definitely. As we say bye, we'll see you guys next week, and go Birds. Doesn't have to define which bird it is.
All the birds.